Chapter 11. Soulbond's Dawn. Owlin liked to feel naturally beautiful, so she used her own characteristics to her advantage, instead of covering herself with lots of ornaments and painting like the young ladies of society do. She was a wild beauty, and she knew how powerful that could be. It was just like her mother used to do. Her dress was picked in a sassy impulse. It was a gift from Darionis. It was satin, orange as the sunset, and a magically shining embroidery with tiny green leaves at the hem from the Isles of Lyrian. It was tight on her body, and part of her legs were on show. That's why he liked the dress first place. She never wore it before, so Owlin felt it was appropriate. The orange highlighted her caramel skin, and the green contrasted with her red eyes. Her hair, that was always in a braid, was left loose, falling over her shoulders until her waist, and she painted her lips with a red tint and the contour of her eyes black. Owlin had perfumed oils from Carindel for her body that she loved, made with lilies and red roses, and that's the one she chose. When Ryden arrived, Sarian came to pick her up and opened a huge smile. "That is my princess. Shall we go?" Ryden was waiting for them outside in the backyard. Sarian brought enough food for a whole family of 4 besides the fruits, nuts, cheese, and wine. Ryden was well dressed in a white set and had a beautiful silver necklace with a pendant, a panther sculpted in an obsidian over his chest. "Hi, Ryden. Sorry for the delay. I took a nap." The look Ryden gave to Owlin was more than she expected, and for a second she felt uncomfortable. A part of her wanted to be who she was before the pain, free and reckless, but another wanted to feel something real, which she didn't achieve before, and that was scary. And the dress that was making her feel beautiful before suddenly made her feel ashamed. "If you wake up every day like this, then I don't know what happens in your way to the arena," Rydan answered with the excess of honesty he was an expert about. Owlin laughed, and her discomfort disappeared as magic. "I think it is very unlikely that I can beat someone up wearing this," and she gave him a little spin to show off her dress. "You won't have to. They would probably obey any order you gave. I know I would," Ryden said seriously, making Sarian guffaw. "You are indeed very funny, even not intentionally." "I am happy you had accepted our invitation to join for dinner, Ryden," Sarian said. "I am glad you invited me. I feel honored to be invited in a family house again." And he bowed to Sarian. Sarian had an exceptional flair about recognizing people's character, and Rydan didn't trigger him any anxieties. From the beginning, he had a sense of him being reliable and easy to handle, but he wanted to be sure for Owlin, so he used some of his artifacts to assist him. The Alarian people from the Isles were remarkably good practitioners, and magic was such an important part of their society that different devices were developed and were broadly used in their communities. The restrictions people had to visit the islands and intertwine with their people was due to the resources they have and must be well protected, as most people wouldn't have the wisdom and maturity to use them. Sarian and Owlin were used to some of them due to their contacts in Carindel and the familiarity they had with the Alarian people during the years they lived in the caves, but they were very restricted to show and sharing with people their tools and resources. So Sarian got a velvet vine to decorate the dinner table, knowing it was going to be rotten in the presence of an evil person, dangerous temper, or dark intentions. That was one of his most dearest tools to have around after the catastrophic event of Tarex. Ryden was telling Sarian the story of his life with details, and seemed to not be intimidated about sharing it, including the hardship he had in the orphanage. There were few natives orphans in there, as the tribes used to keep their own in the women's circles. But due to the nature of his father's crime, Ryden was despised and abandoned by his tribe. That made him a target for the oldest kids in the orphanage, and more than once he had to use his skills to defend himself under his own roof. Sometimes they would attack me in my sleep. I was hard to beat because of the training all the children in the Tamrock tribe have to go through, and eventually I stopped sleeping. It was tough, Rydan explained. "All children? What if you didn't want to be a Vowin?" Owlin asked, surprised. "It wasn't the option of not being a Vowin. You could have a normal life as long as you completed your training, and in case of war, everyone has to fight. My parents used to push me to be a good Vowan, so I worked harder than most kids, Rydan answered. The tribes have different rules, princess. The Ziamak have an obligatory basic training for children, but it is for self-defense. Nothing terrifying as you can see in other villages. The Jirnur villages, for example. According to rumors, children are exposed since very young to prolonged contact with the totem and had to eat diluted blood seeds so they will develop blood warden skills more often and faster. Sarian said. That is horrible, Owlin shouted. No wonder her mother ran away from there, Owlin thought to herself. I like to meditate close to the totem, Ryden commented carelessly. Is it a problem? Sarian and Owlin exchanged looks for a second, and Sarian continued. Maybe you could develop some skills, but it is hard to know for sure. In my experience, as time passes, we get used to the energies around, and the sensitivity we have for the totem, the seeds and other magical sources get lower. Did you experience anything different since you started to meditate there? Sarian asked. I don't think so. I just feel relaxed around it. I sleep better after doing it. But since Owlin arrived, I stopped because we are training now in the free time I used to go there. Nothing changed. My dreams actually became clearer and even more intense compared to what they were before. Ryden answered, staring at Owlin. Sorry for ruining your magical moment with that thing. I didn't know we had free access to the Elderlight's patio like this, Owlin said, laughing. The Murakai are different. They have restrictions and rules, but they all make sense. You can find a rationale to follow in what the Elderlight establish, and Renara seems to me a good woman. Even my life being the mess it was, I like more to live in there than I used to back in the Tamrock villages, Ryden said, playing with his obsidian panther. This necklace is absolutely beautiful. It is a refined piece from what I know of jewelry, Sarian commented. It was my mother's. I wanted to keep to remember of her and my family. I couldn't have much from what belonged to us when I left to the orphanage, but at least they let me have it. It is indeed beautiful, and looks like you, Owlin said without thinking first, making Ryden and Sarian laugh while she blushed. The velvet vine was healthy and flowering, what was rare for them, so Sarian was relieved, and Ryden Company was officially approved. They talked more for another couple of hours, essentially about the training they were doing together, and Ryden even gave some demonstrations. Owlin enjoyed herself, making it harder for him to show him off, using her tight clothes as an excuse. They had some wine already, and she was giggling enough for Sarian to bring them more dessert. Ryden was naive in a way that Owlin thought it was captivating and enchanting at the same time, and that made her put her guard down to him very easily. He was comfortable. He was reliable. I think I had too much wine. I will be back in a minute, Sarian said, leaving them alone. He had some providential Everspark potions ready for them. They learned in Karendel too, and the best to recover fast from the wine effects, and just required some final touches to be drinkable. That was the first potion Owlin ever learned how to prepare in her life, making Sarian very proud. Do you want more wine? Owlin said, putting some in both their glasses. Just a little bit. I am not used to it. When I turned 14 and I could have alcohol, I was in the orphanage, and they didn't have any wine there. I only started drinking when Arendor brought it to the dorms. Oh, don't tell anyone, Ryden said, making her laugh. I won't. Your secret is safe with me. All your secrets are safe with me, Owlin said. Which secrets do you know about me? Ryden asked, half smiling. I don't any secrets you want to share with me then, Owlin said. Ryden then sat closer to her, whispered, Then I am telling you a secret right now. Kiss fun. Sounds fun, tell me, she exclaimed, excited. They were tipsy for sure. I dream about you, that I am taking care of you, and sometimes I touch you and you like it. I dreamed about you last night, Ryden said, placing a hand on Owlin's waist. Owlin was astonished. Why was looking at her seriously, and she couldn't think about an answer. Her brain was not functioning well with the wine, and his hand on her waist was not helping her concentration. So without thinking twice about what she was saying, she whispered, It was you and the totem? Yes, it was me, he said firmly. What was you doing? Holding you with my bare hand, not allowing you to escape from me. Ryden was holding her waist with both hands now. And how do I know the taste of your lips? Owlin's voice was increasingly lower. You tell me, Ryden answered when they heard Sarian coming back and they stepped away from each other. Lot better! You two drink this! It will make us all feel better. Ryden, you should stay for the night. It is too late for you to go back alone and the road is getting dangerous every day, Sarian said seriously. I don't want to be inconvenient, Ryden answered. You are not? You should stay, Ewalin said. She didn't plan anything. There was nothing in her mind, but she wanted him there, close to her. You don't want to disappoint her, Ryden. I have done it myself in the past, and she made me regret, Sarian said, blinking at Ewalin. I will stay. Thanks for your kindness, Sarian. Perfect. I will show you our guest room. It isn't huge, but it is very comfortable. You should get ready to sleep, princess, Sarian said, kissing Ewalin's forehead. I will, father. See you in the morning, Ryden, Ewalin said and walked back to her room. It was so hot in the air that her skin was melting. They were having the same dreams. She needed to talk with Sarian about it. Ewalin started thinking, it was all dreams, or just the spiritual ones. Was she causing it? Nina needed to talk with Ryden in the morning too. She had to know what he had seen about her. She had too many secrets to risk. She went to bed, and her mind didn't stop, but her tiredness won her over and she fell asleep without noticing, and started dreaming. Ewalin was outside in the backyard. The moon was bright, and she could see the vapors of hot water involving her feet. She looked around, and there was no sound, no movement. She felt a cold breeze in her spine and looked down at her body, noticing she was naked. She went inside the pool and dived into the hot water. Under the water, the moon seemed to be even brighter and was reflecting everywhere. Somehow she could breathe in there, so she let her body feel loose and dive in, deeper and deeper. Ewalin closed her eyes briefly, so she felt a push, and the panther was there, bringing her to the surface. Jumped outside the water and started turning into a man she knew so well. She woke up and her room was cold. The shock from the warm water she had before made her feel a goosebump. She touched her arms, and she was indeed warmer than she should. Ewalin tried to sleep again, but she couldn't. She needed to know if he was there, and if they meet in her dream. Ewalin got up and tiptoed to the guest room. She opened the door, just a crack, enough to peek inside, and saw Ryden sleeping soundly. While going back to her room, Ewalin was thinking about what she expected to find there. Maybe he was also with insomnia and could make her some company. Or she was too imaginative. Back to bed, her sleep came back fast, and soon she was back in her dream. Ryden was there, and this time he wasn't a panther. He was saying something that Ewalin couldn't hear, but somehow she knew he was calling her. She walked towards Ryden and got inside the pool, joining him. He approached her, and she felt hands on her waist, pulling her closer. They were so close that their noses touched, and she ran her fingers over his chest, over the scar and the necklace he had around his neck. Ryden whispered something at her ear, and she didn't know what it meant, but she nodded her head. So Ryden kissed her. Ewalin felt a strange recognition and familiarity with his touch that she couldn't explain. She began to explore his body with her hands and felt like she knew every inch of him. Her mind was blowing, and she was burning. And she woke up. Her room was remarkably hot and noticed her skin was on fire. She was manipulating fire during her sleep, and that was too dangerous. Ewalin got up and went outside to calm down and cool her skin. She lay down on the grass and lifted her blouse to the middle of her back to cool down and heard a noise behind her. Ryden was coming towards her. He was shirtless and barefoot, wearing only his pants and the necklace, and she started to burn again. She stood up and waited for him to reach her. Ryden, Ewalin whispered before he kissed her and pulled her to his lap. They kissed fiercely as if there was urgency, a need to be together, and it was just like she felt in her dreams. Exactly the same taste, the same kiss, and the same touch. He carried her to the pool, wetting her clothes and then gently taking them off. It wasn't the first time Ewalin had intimacy, but it was the first time she felt completely surrendered like that. Ryden's touch was firm but gentle, and his body was perfect. Owlin kept looking at him for a while and explored with her hands. He kissed her whole body as if he was worshipping her, and the warmth of their bodies were overwhelming the hot water of the pool. Raiden laid her on the deck to touch and massage her. He blows her neck, belly, and all her sensitive parts to make her bristle. Awalin caressed his hair and kissed him slowly, playing with their tongue to tease him. They made love over and over again until it was almost dawn. Nothing was said, only felt, and Awalin didn't want to stop or let him go. And Raiden didn't seem to have any intention of letting her go either. When they heard a movement in the house, they dressed as fast as they could, and they tiptoed back each to their own room. Sarian wasn't going to be angry at her, but Awalin didn't want to shock him. No, while laying in her bed, Awalin noticed she still wanted to be with Raiden, and that was insane. She couldn't tell what was happening, but it was scary and exciting at the same time, and she couldn't wait to be with him again. Somehow, she didn't sleep. She was exhausted, and her body needed to rest, but her mind was too agitated for it. So Awalin got up and went to the kitchen. Raiden was up, helping Sarian with breakfast, and they were chatting about recipes. Raiden looked at her and smiled, and she smiled at him back. They continued speaking amenities until the breakfast was done, so Sarian served them and said, "I will have to meet Varkai now, but I won't take long. He is in Farah's Vale, solving some issues, and I am meeting him at the market. But eat the two of you, and I will be back in a short moment," Sarian said, going out. Once Sarian was gone, Awalin kissed Raiden in an impulse and said, "Good morning." "Good morning." Raiden smiled, a huge, wide-open smile, as she had never seen him doing it before, and he kissed her once more. "We need to talk about this," Awalin said. "I agree. I want you. And I don't want us to stop," he said, making her giggle. "We will, but I am talking about the dreaming the same dreams," Awalin said, blushing. "I have always dreamed about you, even before we met. I didn't recognize you at first, but it only took a few hours spending time with you for me to understand why you looked so familiar at the first encounter." "You are the woman in my dreams," Raiden said, surprising Awalin. She supposed he was being dragged to her dreams because of her skills, but if the dreams started with him, maybe it was the opposite. "I couldn't remember all the dreams about you, but somehow I knew how it felt to touch you. As if it wasn't the first time. Since when you dream about me?" Awalin said. "I see, since I moved to the Murakai tribe." "There is something else," Raiden said, pulling her to his lap. "I have watched things from what I think could be memories. I didn't ask for it. It wasn't my intention, but I did. And I tried to protect you, Awalin," Raiden said. "I know. I saw you," Awalin answered, excited. "So whenever you are ready to talk about it, we should. About your dreams. But only if you want to," Raiden said shyly. "I do. I want to tell you who I am." Awalin kissed him, long and sweet. "Do you know how you taste like?" "No. How?" Awalin asked curiously. "Peaches." They were smiling at each other and kissed for a while, until they heard Sarian coming back. So she ran to her chair and continued eating it cold. "Sorry for leaving you. We are going to have some old friends visiting today, and I had to make some arrangements. You are welcome to stay Raiden if you wish," Sarian said. "I appreciate it, but I have duties today that I can't miss. I would love to stay if I could," Raiden said. "You are always welcome to be back and visit anytime. And we will see you soon when I take Awalin back." Raiden left after breakfast, saying goodbye formally, but kissing Awalin on the cheek before leaving. Sarian smiled at them and whispered to Awalin to tell him everything later when they were alone. They went together to the market to buy some treats for dinner, and Awalin was in an exceptionally good mood. She bought herself a new pair of earrings, and to Sarian she bought owl-shaped cufflinks for him to always remember her when he wears them while she was out in the tribes. The day was sunny, and she was feeling great. They went back home as soon as they finished their tasks, so Awalin could tell him the news. First, it happened, but that is not the most important thing to share right now. Awalin said, I knew it! How isn't it important? Did you like it? I am so happy for you, Sarian said, grabbing some wine for them to share, while she told him the interesting parts briefly. Oh, he is so in love with you, or will be soon. And I am such a horrible example for you, Sarian said, making Awalin laugh. No, you are not. But what I need to tell you is that Ryden and I dream the same dreams, just like my mother. Sarian sat straight in the chair and took on a more serious air. Honey, is he a blood warden? Sarian asked. No, he is an outsider like me, a Tamrock as I told you. He may still be one, just not aware of. You are a good example. You know how to practice Alarian magic and are controlling your skills to not be seen as a blood warden. Wait here. Sarian went to his room and came back with a small package. What is it? Awalin asked. This is a compass. Sort of. So it looks like a regular compass, shows the north, but it is enchanted in the Isles. Look what it happens when we manifest close to it. Sarian created a small fireball in the palm of his hand, and the pointer of the compass pointed in his direction. This is cool, but how am I supposed to use this on Ryden? Awalin asked. By watching him sleep, Sarian answered with a smile. Smart. It will be hard to do it back in the tribes, but I will try. What if he knows? About being skilled? I don't know. I think we should start with the compass and use the eclipsing mirrors so I can communicate with you more often. The letters are too dangerous to talk about this, Sarian suggested. I agree. Also, I am going to suggest you take some dreamstones with you for us to use, and I think you should give one to Ryden. We'll strengthen your connection, supposing you want that. Sarian said. I do. I also want to tell him who I am. Are you sure about it, Awalin? I do. I trust him, and I don't believe he will tell other people. But I am still not ready to share my skills with him. That could leave him torn between loyalty to me and loyalty to the tribe. Awalin said, There is one thing you can do. You can make him your soul brother, Sarian said. Like Kay and Thalgrim? I thought that was dangerous, Awalin shouted. It is not dangerous. It is one of the most beautiful bindings someone can have. Thalgrim couldn't deal with Kay's assassination due to the pain it causes to lose a soul brother. That's why he did what he did. It is a very intense connection that brings a lot of joy and happiness too, some fulfillment that very few people can experience in life, Sarian said with a sad smile. Thalgrim took his own life a couple of weeks after they were back from Carindel, when Terex murdered everyone dear to Sarian and put fire on his house in Brindlehold. Varkai was the only survival that night because he was out of town with his family, and some missing people were never found, such as her father. And there is always the risk of losing your partner too early in life, and losing yourself with the grief. I have to think if I am ready for this, Awalin answered. I understand. You are right, it may be too early to know for sure if he is suitable for a soul brother. But according to your dreams, he is your protector, so keep that in mind. The soul brother connections between lovers are remarkably powerful, I must say. I have researched about it for a while after losing Thalgrim and everyone else, Sarian said, serving them some more wine. Sarian was getting more emotional and sensitive every day. After the fire 5 years ago, a melancholy took over him and slowly settled in until he transformed into someone different. The fact that being Sarian's friend and loved one was the main reason people became targets of Tarek's paranoid and delusional vengeance hurt Sarian so deeply that he was struggling to bond with people again. Awalin's appearance in his life brought back the joy he had partially lost and made him want to live again. Somehow she intuitively knew that being apart from him was making him sad, and she felt guilty for not thinking more about Sarian with her choice to go to the tribes. But her decision came in a place of pain and the need to have her mother back, if it was possible. 1.5 years before, they were in Carindel and practicing lucid dreaming when she heard the voice of her mother. It was a song she didn't know, and at first Awalin couldn't recognize it because her mother had never sung before. But as the voice was getting clearer, she knew it was her voice, and she called her mother's name and heard an answer. Awalin woke up crying and told Sarian that her mother was alive and knew she was looking for her. The next few weeks, all their practices were based in meditation and lucid dreams to try to reach her again, and what they could tell is that her mother was somewhere in the elder tree. Sometimes Awalin would still dream about her mother, but they couldn't connect long enough to help to find the right position. It was like her mother was confused, and most of the time Awalin had nightmares about her capture. So you connect with Raiden as you do with your mother. You will try him with the compass and give him a dreamstone, and think about turning him into a soul brother. That's all? Sarian asked. And we need to talk every day. Don't forget about the mirrors. I need your guidance with this. And she also could miss him less. You are my best friend. I should do the pact with you, Awalin said, laughing. Oh dear, I am too old. If Raiden is someone special, as I believe it is, since you two are connected spiritually in your dreams, then he may be the right person for you to share this bond. Or not, let your intuition to lead you. If you need more time, take your time. But keep in mind that sometimes the deepest connections we have are recognized in a matter of seconds. Life can surprise us in the most amazing ways. Life brought you to me, Sarian said with tears in his eyes. And I am incredibly happy it did. I love you, Awalin said. I love you too, princess, Sarian answered. He had to dry his tears with a handkerchief, and they heard a whistle outside. Awalin went out, and the tavern lady was bringing their packages for the dinner later. Food is here, Awalin shouted, and she paid herself with the money she was now earning before Sarian could come out. The Voan in our house is very generous. Sarian played around with her, and they started preparing everything for Varkai and his family to come. The dinner went easy, and Awalin had a lot of fun. Varkai's little girls were adorable and kept following Awalin everywhere. The twins were very handsome, more than Awalin was waiting and prepared for. Zarior was very tanned and strong due to his days in the water sailing, and Tarion was his smallest version, but his blonde hair was long and he had sweet eyes and smile. They were so happy to see her that both hugged her, and Zarior spun Awalin in the air. Having them back in town was refreshing and healing her soul. They spoke a lot about their life back in Nerithil, and she heard everything, fascinated. Awalin remembered her life in the dunes, but it was so long ago that it felt like a dream. But while the twins were speaking, her nostalgic feelings got more intense, and she noticed herself enjoying it. She was disconnected with her childhood for so long that it was also a balsam for her wounded heart to remember about her life from before. They stayed up late at night, and they played the old games they used to as children in Sarian's garden, teaching Malice and Maria to play too, and it was really fun. As she used to do before, Awalin sang to them. This time, she went to her treasure box in her room, the same as her mother used to keep her own treasures, and picked up her lira. One of the few things she saved from her disturbed life after all those years was the lira, and she sang all the old songs until her emotions made her to have to stop. In retribution, Tarion read to her some of his poems until Zarior felt jealous, and they start competing for her attention as they used to do before, for the amusement of Varkai, Tamara, and Sarian, who were only waiting for that glory moment to happen. It was like the old times in a magical night. When the girls fell asleep due to the hours, they left, and in an impulse, Awalin shared a dreamstone with each one of the twins, so they could maybe see each other in their dreams after she was gone. She would only come back to Sarian for another family visit break in a few months from now. Her heart ached, and she wished she could stay longer. But then the memory of her mother came to her mind, and Awalin promised herself that next time they were together, Viela would also be there. Awalin and Sarian spent the next day training her skills with water control and flowing her emotions as they planned, and they tested the mirror's activation so they could speak from long distance. When it was almost sunset, Sarian took Awalin back to the tribes. Their farewell was sad and full of hugs. It was exceedingly difficult for him to be alone again, and she missed home already. But, on the other hand, Raiden waited anxiously for her return, and she was happy to see him again. Raiden was waiting for her carriage to arrive and greeted Sarian from far, allowing their goodbyes to happen in privacy. Awalin ran to him as Sarian left, and without expecting, Raiden hugged and kissed her fiercely as if he didn't see her in ages. "Oh, I like this intensity," Awalin said. "Get used to it, I missed you," Raiden answered, kissing her again. Owlin wasn't used to that sort of affection. Her previous experience was cold and she wasn't sure how to handle him. "I missed you too. I have a gift for you," and she grabbed the dreamstone to give to him. "This is a gem that can connect you to someone else's dream. It's an official invitation and also a gift to increase our connection and bring our spirits closer together," Owlin said, making him smile. Raiden wasn't used to smile widely before, and now he seemed to do it all the time. "I loved it. It is perfect," Raiden said, kissing her forehead. It was interesting for her to be so open with Raiden like that. With Darionis, she had to hide, and no one could know about them, and that was deliciously different. "There is something else I want to gift you, but has to be in private," Owlin said, looking Raiden in the eyes. Raiden smiled and held her hand, pulling her back to the arena. They were passing by all their colleagues, those who were already there, and those who were returning from their home trips, hanging out in the common areas, and many paid attentions to Raiden and Owlin, holding hands and happy. Raiden took them back to their place in the moonlight, close to the leaves, and kissed her. "Do you need more private than this?" "I can try," Raiden said. "No, I think it is enough. I want to gift you the truth. I trust you, and I think we aren't connected for just a coincidence. I believe you would protect me if I needed, so I want you to know me, especially if we are a couple now." Owlin said, "We are," Raiden exclaimed with a raised eyebrow, which made her laugh. "Then sit down. This can raise some questions, and I want to make sure I answer them all. How aware you are about the beginning of this war?" "I know how it happened. The conflict started with the Jir-Nur and the Kurash." "Perfect. My name is Alira. I am the daughter of Fenris, the Shadow Hand, and Viela, the missing heir of the Jir-Nur. Do you recognize any of them?" Owlin asked, and he nodded his head. "Well, technically, I am the missing heir of the Jir-Nur, because they gave up on my mother, but I know my mother is alive. I dreamed about her as I dreamed about you, and she spoke to me. She is here, in the Elder Tree, and that is why I became a Voin," Owlin said. Raiden was silent for a moment, and Owlin didn't know what he was thinking, so she waited until he was ready. That made her nervous because she knew there was a reward for her whereabouts and that of any other family member in more than one tribe. And it is well known that it was the event of Vela's capture that started the war years ago. After a while, Raiden finally spoke. "Do you know what was the conflict that started it all? I only know your mother went missing in the Kurash tribe, and the Jir-Nur took it as a deadly offense. About your father, I only heard rumors. I don't know what happened to my father. My mother was taken by vultures, and that was the last time she was seen. What I know in detail is from Sarian and Maiden. Do you remember him?" "I do. Continue," Raiden said. "He was a messenger of my mother. A bad man trapped my father, and he was captured first. Maiden went to the Jir-Nur in my mother's behalf to ask for them to negotiate for my father. He barely got out of there with life, but apparently the Jir-Nur tried to rescue my father anyway. And while they were negotiating, the Kurash found and imprisoned my mother. They asked for ransom money, and the Jir-Nur paid immediately, but she was never returned to our family. So the Jir-Nur declared war against the Kurash. I am sorry, that is terrible. And you disappeared?" "Yes, I didn't know what to do. I was very different back then. Maiden was terrified with the Jir-Nur, and I was always afraid to go to them. My mother ran away from them too. We went looking for my mother and Sarian, who was Maiden's boss at the time, but the house was on fire and my mother was gone. We waited for her in my home for many days until some bad people noticed it was empty and broke in. They hurt Maiden, and we had to run away. And I was in the streets until Sarian finally recognized me one day in the market in Brindlehold, trying to steal food from a tent. Only then did I find out about everything regarding my family and the war. Before finding him, I had no clue about anything that happened to my parents, and if Maiden found out, he didn't share. I was too sensitive. I can picture him trying to protect me from the story. So Sarian took me home with him, and here I am. He is a good man. I am glad you found Sarian," Raiden said, caressing her cheeks. "It was hard for him, too. That night, the bad man, Terex, burnt his house to ashes and murdered all his dear ones in their homes. Kay, Lunel, Almost everyone he cared about were dead or missing, and some that remained couldn't deal with the pain. Finding each other was a relief from both our sorrows. Sari and his family. Is there anything else you want to know? Owlin asked. Just one thing. Do you want me to call you Owlin or Elira? Owlin was surprised, and she laughed. Raidan was so sweet and innocent, and always sincere, yet so strong and serious. He was adorable, and Owlin knew she was falling in love. Call me Owlin. Sarian gave me that name, and now I am officially his daughter. Don't you have any other questions? A lot of them, actually, but I don't want to disturb you. I saw you in my dreams, Owlin. Your dreams, I think. While you were in the streets, I saw you in the old basement too. There were vultures attacking you. I saw a boy breaking your heart inside a shiny cave, a very long time ago. I wanted to console you, and I couldn't. I have seen so many things, and I saw a woman singing. Raidan answered. That is my mother. I want to find and rescue her. That's how I know she is alive. Awanan answered seriously. I see. And there were dreams about you and me together too. I hope I don't scare you, but I am happy you exist. I would feel very lonely if I found out that I spent these past few years falling in love for my own imagination, Raidan said, kissing her. Owlin's heartbeat raised so fast that she felt dizzy. She knew she liked him, but never crossed her mind that their connection was so deep, that he was her protector from the dreams, and that everything was going to happen so intensely and fast like that. She only knew it felt great, and she didn't want it to stop. I have an idea. You tell me how you feel about it, Owlin said. She then pulled the eclipsing mirror and spoke to Sarian, who was still in the carriage moving back. After getting the information she needed, Raidan agreed with her plan, and she pulled him by the hand until the Murukai totem in the empty Elderlight patio. Are you sure you want to do it? Owlin asked. Yes, I am. Are you? Yes, Raidan, I do. They positioned facing each other in front of the totem and joined hands with their fingers interlaced. This time, Owlin was feeling the power of the totem differently, as if it was charging her energies. Together, they start reciting, Under the gaze of the elder tree, by the whispers of the ancestors we decree, our spirits entwine, unbroken, unbound, through the echoes of life where love is found. In joy and sorrow we shall stand, in light and shadow, hand in hand, our souls as one, our lives aligned, together we walk through endless time. Then separately, first Raidan and then Owlin, they said, By my breath and by my heartbeat, I bind my spirit to make us whole. May our bond endure the tides, until the stars fade and the sky divides. Then Raidan and Owlin got close to each other, touching their forehead and still holding hands, they finished. If fate should part us, though worlds may fall, our spirits shall answer the eternal call. When the Soulbond vow was done, the totem enlightened with a spectral shine, and they felt an inexplicable pleasure, like a feeling of fulfillment and the certainty of future happiness. Something extremely intense and exciting lasting a few minutes. Then the night was dark again. Some people were coming by to see what happened, and they moved fast outside the area to not be seen, be them. Owlin was feeling whole, protected, loved, and supported in an irrational way, and all she wanted most in life was to be with Raidan. That was what mattered the most. His dreams became her dreams, his happiness became her happiness, and she knew he was feeling the same, because she recognized. She could read his heart, mind, and aura. That pact was far more profound than she could ever imagine. How do you feel? She asked him. Like I could conquer the world just to give it to you as a gift. It is powerful, Sarian was right. And I don't regret it. Raidan was taking deep breaths to calm his excitement, and Owlin followed, synchronizing their bodies. I know what now? Owlin asked. Raidan answered. Now we find your mother.